So good morning, sir. This is my report about the insect integration, coordination integration, and I'm Arvin Novko from Visa 3C. And disclaimer before I proceed to my report, I'm not professional and for educational purposes only. Thank you. So the topic is insect coordination integration. So introduction, it requires the coordination and cooperation of many tissues with the nervous system and neurohormones controlling the performance and energy metabolism of muscles and of fat body, ensuring that the muscle and nerves are supplied with essential fuels throughout flight. Many navigating insects indeed rely on external compass goes for estimating body orientation, whereas the obtained distance information by integration steps or optic flow based speed signal in the insect brain, a region called the central complex, plays a key role for path integration. This is the muscular system in insect. Muscular control in the intact insects. Muscles power all the movement external and internal in insects. All insects muscles have striated like vertebrate, cardiac, and skeletal muscles. Insects muscles show high levels of homology to those vertebrate muscles in their structures. Protein content, contractility, and regulation. Insect muscles protein content, colorless of gray through the flight. Muscles often show yellowish or brown tinge. In the most skeletal muscles, especially those the appendages, one end muscles and attached to the movable part. Cuticular invagination or apodemus in the form of cord, bands, or plate-like structure may provide the true sites of attachment. Learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, can identify the coordination integration of insect, identify the different muscles and functions, identify the changes of muscles during the development of insects. Function of the muscular system. Support the body, helps maintain posture, movement of the limbs including ovipositor. Movement of the wings. Insects are the only invertebrate supply. Movement of the viscera, locomotion, closure of spiracles, operation of various pumps such as cerebral pump and pumping of the poison glands. Generation of bead by sheathing, cardiac muscles found in the insect, muscles that only muscle found in striated muscles insects, that cardiac or smooth types. Physiology of insect muscles. Properties of insect skeletal muscles such as absolute muscular power and simple contraction do not differ greatly from those of vertebrates. Unlike vertebrates, insects muscles contain relatively few fibers, and to achieve smooth contraction, they are supplied by multiple nerve endings. The neuromuscular transmitter substance of insect is probably glutamate. The muscles of legs, abdomen, and most flight muscles respond synchronous to the nervous impulse. In Diptera, Hemiptera, Coleoptera, and Hemiptera, they evolved to the characteristic fibrillar type of synchronous indirect flight muscles. Here, the frequency of the contraction is not determined by the central nervous system but is directly controlled by loading on the muscles. Metabolism of insect muscles. The oxygen consumption of the insect may rise hundredfold when flight begins, and its continue for long periods, and reserve of oxidation respiratory materials is needed. In Diptera, the Hymenoptera respiratory quotient of unity during flight indicates that carbohydrates are main structures. There are important biochemical differences in the metabolism of different muscles in the locus flight. Muscles lactic dehydrogenase is virtually absent, and lactic acid is not an end product of glycolysis, whereas in the leg muscle, lactic acid accumulates and is slowly removed in oxidation and conversion of glycogen. Degeneration of musculature. The degeneration of light muscles occur after sexual maturity in many species. In queen ants, the termites, due to the degeneration of light muscles, reproduction is permitted by releasing amino acid that can be used in egg formation. Those changes and accompanying hypertrophy of the fat body and resumption of embryo development in the ovaries are caused by hormonal changes. Interesting changes take place in the segmental muscles of the abdomen radius PP, which undergo periodic regressive and regenerative changes associated with the molting cycle. Changes of muscle during the development in insect. Insect and mites belongs a larger group of animals known as Arthropods. Several characteristics differentiate insect from other arthropods. The body is segmented, and the segments are grouped into 3 sections: head, thorax, and abdomen. The eyes, antenna, and mouth parts are the head, legs, and wings are the thorax. The insect skeleton is on the outside of its body and is called exoskeleton. It serves as a support for muscles and internal organs, as well as the covering and the body wall of insect. As 3 layers, outer is the cuticle containing chitin proteins, often pigments. This is secreted by cellular layer beneath it called the epidermis. In the inner layer is called the basement membrane. This is the picture of the skeletal of the muscles during the development of insect. Next, insect muscles fibers exhibit graded electrical potential and are changes in the transmitter complement of spinal neurons. A locus with a central nervous system consisting of a brain and chain of segmental ganglia is shown. Cluster of the octomegenic dome neurons and metatoriac ganglion, including abdominal neurons, are stained by immunohistochemistry. Anti-optomine, an individual dome neuron which innervates with muscles, had been ejected with fluorescent dye, and then scanned in the confocal microscope. Note that bilaterally symmetrical action of the neuron. The effects of optomine in the insect skeletal muscles. Contraction. What are the consequences of optomine release from the neurons and troposkeletal muscles? First, release of optomine alone does not result in the electrical potential change or the contraction of the muscle's fiber. However, octopamine modulates multiple aspects of neuromuscular operation via G-protein coupled receptors. Some changes are the primitive insect must have used existing thoracic muscular to produce the deformation of the thoracic wall required to move the wings. The dorsal ventral muscle inserted on the leg base from the use of indirect wing levators, because by the contracting in mass they depress in the tergal wall and thus rated the wings. Hymenoptera and Diptera to very high frequency wing vibration with a minimum of thoracic deformation in the wing musculature. It led to the evolution of a completely novel type of muscles in which is frequency confused under almost isometric condition, replace low frequency titanic shortening. Metamorphosis. During their development, most of insect changes shape in the face or the same metamorphosis in terms of transformation and juvenile hormones produced by glands in the insect head regulates. Each moult releases the juvenile hormone, but quantity released each time diminish as the concentration adult and characteristic of which point adult stage will emerge. Normal growth can be disturbed in the juvenile hormone is given the incorrect time or wrong amount during the insect life cycle. Some insects don't vary much in terms of appearance, and the young adults are nearly identical except for size. Simple metamorphosis is termed for this short transformation. The young, known as nymphs, generally occupy the same habitat as the adult and feed same host. Wings, the reproductive organs, are absent in nymphs. There are three general categories muscle that power flight: direct, indirect, and accessory. Direct flight muscles consisting of basilar and subalar muscles insert directly at the base of the wing and provide the power of downstroke in more primitive insect, and also affect with promotion and supination. Another direct muscle, the third axillary muscle, insert in the third axillary sclerate. It affects well supination, and it's also responsible for wing flexion against the body wall when the wings are the rest. References. Thank you. That's the end of my report. Thank you for watching.